everyone. This is Alex, Tom's oldest daughter from Two Dads Talking. Thanks for listening to my daddy and his friend Doug's podcast. And please like, share, and subscribe to this. Thank you.
Hello, all you father figures out there. Welcome to, I actually don't know what episode number this is. I want to say it's like 26.
I'll bet you it's like 28 is my guess.
I think you're wrong.
Well, that wouldn't be a first time, so that's fine.
No,
I'm really good at being wrong and handling that when it happens. It's all right.
Exactly. So we're at episode 25-28 range.
We'll just take the average.
Thank you for bearing with us as we've been sort of realigning things here. We've got the Patreon basically ready to go. We're just getting some stuff together to add for you guys, so you're not just joining for nothing. We're doing some new editing tests and got one in the bank and others coming. So appreciate the patience, guys, with just as we reorient ourselves for that. But while you're here listening, don't forget to like, subscribe, review, and all that fun stuff, and check out the Patreon here, which we'll send out our blasts when it's all ready to go, if we haven't already. And yeah, glad to be here. Happy to be alive.
I had to check. This is, in fact, episode 28.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
No.
I never uploaded 27 into our Google Drive, but I've got it recorded in my Zoom files. And yeah, this is 28.
Oh my God. We're almost getting to my age.
No, we're not.
Jackass.
Welcome, everybody, to Two Dads Talking. We're happy to have you. It's been a real interesting couple of weeks. We will try to keep this short tonight because we started late and we've already been through some admin stuff. And yeah, I don't know that going long tonight would be good for anybody. So we're going to try to keep it short tonight. We've got
Considering my age, I can go all night.
He's on that Tiagra that we talked about way back in episode, I don't know, 15, 14, somewhere around there.
Well, let's just get right into it. So, Tom, did you want to go first?
No, let's let you go first. Yours is going to be the more family productive one, and mine's going to be more like a ranting against society kind of thing. So let's do yours first. Let's start in a positive.
You're right. We should totally warm people up with the wholesome family stuff and trick them into hearing the ranting afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this has been an on and off topic for us in the last couple of weeks, which is why it was on my mind. Basically, should you let your kids go to sleepovers? And, we're not talking about, I guess we are talking about those too, but like, the summer camps or whatever like that. We're more just talking about, friend's house, 3, 4, 5 other kids, just having just a couple of hours and then sleeping and getting picked up in the morning. Just what you think of when you hear just the term sleepover. So Tom and I figured we'd talk about just our thoughts around that. And also, as always, want to hear what you guys think after listening to it, if you have different theories or different reasons as to why it should or shouldn't happen. We right now are on the no train on sleepovers. It's kind of like trust but verify without the trust part. We're not saying the other parents or other household is run badly or anything like that. We're just not going to do it. We just don't want to do it. We don't feel like we have enough control, autonomy, especially at younger ages. There's going to be a viable way for any of our kids to contact us if something goes wrong. The ironic thing for me personally is that if we talk to other parents who also are like, oh yeah, no sleepovers. Like if they want to do a sleepover, it's at our house and our house only. I'm automatically 5% more like, well, actually, my kid could probably sleep over at your house. I'd feel better about you than most other people now because you've got the exact same like alarm bells going off that I do. Yeah, that's the really, really short version of the argument. The thing that particularly interested me on this, though, was my parents were pretty much against sleepovers. I think, I could be making this up somehow. I think they did let us do sleepovers. Like I think I did one for some, but it was an already pre-established group where dads plus sons had done other like sleepover trips, together in hotel rooms and stuff like that. So it was like sort of just a different location for the same activity. I think I think I got like one time. And I think my sister maybe did one or two, and my mom basically shook down the other mom of like, there's gonna be no one else there, right? There's gonna be no other girls there, right? If I drive by for no reason in the middle of the night, I'm not gonna see anything, right? And but yeah, otherwise it was pretty much a no-go. I do remember one time my sister and my mom had a real big row about a sleepover that my sister really wanted to go to, and it was, all of her friends and all that stuff, and it was like a 10 or 12 kid thing. And my mom was just adamant, like, no, this is not happening. And the compromise ended up being that I think basically, when is everyone going to bed? And then my mom went and picked her up. So I think my mom went and picked my sister up at like 1:30 or 2 in the morning from this house. And the idea was that everyone was leaving at 8 or 9 a.m. anyway. So she wasn't really gonna miss anything, probably. At least that's, the justification. And as you can imagine, my sister was not too happy about that because it wasn't really the sleepover part. But now that I'm on this side of the fence, I'm like, that seems reasonable. That seems like a good compromise. You basically get the whole night. And if you guys were actually going to go to sleep, you're not missing anything. And you get to sleep in your own bed. And you don't have to worry about lugging a sleeping bag back and forth and all that jazz. So I'm more curious to hear if Tom has any thoughts on this. I do want to hear alternate theories also, but that's just kind of where we're at. I just wanted to test the waters and see if anyone else has any other good ideas, because that's the best one I can come up with is you can go, but I'm picking you up at some point.
So yeah, so our oldest daughter wants to do sleepovers. She's at that stage now, and it comes up as a topic of conversation fairly often. And my wife and I are both pretty uncomfortable with the idea. It's we say all the time, as us older folk, that it's different for kids now than it was when we were kids. When we were kids, we'd go outside and ride our bikes around the neighborhood until the lights came on and play football and play baseball. And our parents weren't worried about us. We'd go outside and we would stay outside for hours, and our parents would never check in on us. And there really wasn't any concern when we were kids. And now I am terrified of the thought of my kids being out for 3 or 4 hours, without me knowing where they're at. It's just a different world. And sleepovers are kind of the same thing. And my wife had someone that she knows, that's close to her, who had a bad experience, we believe, was a sleepover growing up. And that kind of shades our perspective. And someone in my family had a bad experience. It wasn't necessarily a sleepover, but it's sleepover adjacent. And they had a really terrible experience. And so I'm a little bit biased toward it. And we've had a hard time kind of trying to tell our daughter, no, you can't do a sleepover with your friends. It's been weird. We want to say yes. We want our kids to have the fun social times that we had growing up. But it's hard to get past that safety first mentality. It really is hard to kind of let go of this sort of security mindset and just let your kids be kids sometimes. And this is one of those situations where I think we both just want to err on the side of caution. My wife had a great idea. She called it a sleep under that we recommended. And it's not quite a sleepover, but you get all the same experience of it. And essentially the kids go hang out and play, and they wear their pajamas and they bring their sleeping bags and they watch their movies and they eat their popcorn, but no one spends the night. It's like a warm up. It's a pre-sleepover sort of thing. But I'm probably not doing it justice. My wife had a lot more ideas that went with it, but it's late. And yeah. So, but it was a really neat concept, and my daughter's excited about that. And I think that'll be the next step that we take. We're not ready for the full-blown sleepover yet. And I feel sort of like you do, where, if a kid wants to sleep over my house, I could probably be okay with that. That would probably be okay. But I am not okay with my kids sleeping somewhere else, especially my daughter. Like, I'm extra protective there. And there's too much to worry about. There's just I feel like there's too much risk. It's one of those things where you're always measuring risk reward. And if something goes wrong in that situation, it's one of those lines you never get to come back from all the way. It's kind of how I feel about it. There are certain times in your life where, you step across a line and things are just different forever. You can't walk it back. And I feel like something going wrong in that situation could be one of those lines. It's a lot like, when you're escalating an argument with someone, you've got to realize if you go any further in this argument, it's going to go to a point we can't come back from. It's going to escalate and it's going to rise to a point of physical escalation you may not want. Like, you have to know to cut those things off before you reach that point. And with sleepovers, I feel like as soon as the kid sleeps over, I've lost all control. I've got really not much I can do. And to be honest, I don't know a lot of her friends' parents very well. Maybe if I knew their parents better, I'd feel differently. But where we're at right now, I don't know a lot of her friends' parents, and I probably should. But we don't interact with them very often. We've got two working parents and we see them at birthday parties and we recognize them. And one of them invited me out to a regular basketball game this past week. So maybe I'll get to know them a little bit better, but I don't know their parents. And for me, that's just kind of a deal breaker. I'm a little paranoid on the topic. So I guess we're kind of where you are, but I don't know.
Well, so here's my wrinkle on this too. And this is just what I do mentally to myself all the time. Yes, sometimes it is exhausting. Always questioning myself. But so what you mentioned about, times used to be different. You used to be outside playing all the time. And I kind of had that too. I mean, I spent a lot of time outside. I wasn't always in view or in sight or around my parents, every stinking second. But I think secretly my parents kept better tabs on me than even I thought personally. But there is actual data that says that when, kids used to just go out and play until the streetlights came on, there was actually a higher per capita, like kidnappings and stuff like that for children in the US. We just didn't hear about it. News wasn't as widespread, internet, social media wasn't around. So if you just take a purely cold calculating argument to it, your odds of something bad happening with those situations is actually less likely today. Again, per capita, which you try to explain per capita when something happens to somebody, they don't care. But that thought, my second thought is that most of the time, not all the time, but then the ones that are random usually make the news because they're so random. Most of the time, it's usually a trusted party when something like this goes wrong. So in my mind, I tell myself, well, my kids aren't having sleepovers anywhere except our own house. If it's not our own house, it's basically grandparents or an aunt or uncle. And like, that's it. Even like any of my cousins, no, just those people. But then I tell myself, it's usually those people or those people's friends or acquaintances who are the perpetrators and things like this. So is my kid really safer at, say, an uncle's house than they are at some random other parent's house? I mean, especially for us, like with us doing private schooling, I mean, there's going to be more parents that have a similar mindset to us there than a lot of other places. So are they really in any more danger at some random kid's house? Realistically, probably not. But I think that's the other wrinkle here too, is that I cannot say, hey, my kid would like to go to your sleepover, but also no other adults better be over there. Like, am I going to dictate who you allow into your own house while my kid's there? I can't, because if roles were reversed, if one of our siblings wanted to come over while one of our kids was having their friends over for a sleepover, I'm not going to be like, no, sorry, you can't come in because of whatever. No, they're my family. They're allowed to come in. So I don't know. It's the circular thing of like, is there really any more danger? No, but the internet screwed us because now we just know about all this stuff that happened, and the most sensational stuff is the truly random perp, and that gets all the news coverage and gets all the freak out when really that's what we should be worried least about.
All right. So the TLDR is that neither of us are on board with our kids sleeping over anyone else's house yet.
Yeah, good topic.
Super helpful.
Well, if I wanted to devil's advocate it, I would pull stuff like that. I would say, listen, your kids are eventually going to be on their own. They need to start learning how to handle themselves. And especially having daughters, if my daughters are out socializing in some way or another, and it can be in a controlled place like a school event or whatever like that, they're going to get some unwanted attention. They are. Not just from boys their age, too, because they're seedy men who just will at least be leering, looking the wrong way at teenage girls as they are wont to do. And so do I want my daughters to get a little bit more experience in probably a little bit more controlled environments? Yes. And I can't come up with too many more controlled environments where I'm not like a parrot on their shoulder the whole time than something like a sleepover from a trusted friend for theirs. I do think my personal cutoff is that if something goes wrong, I really don't have an option. At least if something goes, quote, wrong at like a football game or a baseball game, it's in public, there's lots of other people around. I think it's just the basement versus the ceiling for that range. But that's how I would devil's advocate it. I would say realistically, there's less danger now than there was before. You're going to have to let them fly the coop at some point, and you can't just kick them out of the nest like one fell swoop. You have to at least give them some experience, and it's a good way for them to get some of that experience and potentially have fun.
Yeah, I don't think I'd devil's advocate it. I think if I did, it would be a purely social argument that I would make, and it wouldn't be any different from yours. So I'm just not going to bother with it.
I mean, I could also appeal to the whole like, well, if you're fine hosting a sleepover, then you're a jackass if you're not fine with other parents hosting sleepovers, though.
Yep. But
and then like I said, what? Oh, some other parent says no, our kid's not allowed to sleep over. So now you're like, you know what? My kid could sleep over at your place. Like it's like a Macbeth style, like
it's an interesting next level game, right?
Right.
You're just always leveling yourself and always go, yeah. Right. It's like poker. Well, I know he thinks I think this, so I'm going to do this. Well, but if he knows that I think that he thinks that I think this and that I'm thinking that, then he's going to do that. So I should do this, which means that I should probably know that he knows that I think that he thinks that I think that he thinks I'm thinking about this, and I'm going to do that. So I should actually, you just never stop. Yeah, sleepovers are bad. Okay, that's where I'm going to go. Sleepovers bad.
Sleepover is the mid pair. It can win you a pot every so often, but when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong.
I'm telling you, stop playing your cards, start playing your range. You'll win more. That's your poker tip for the night, ladies and gentlemen. Play your range, not your hand.
That's a bad tip. Don't do that.
It's a fantastic tip, and it's exactly what you should do.
Am I misunderstanding what you're saying, or are you just trolling right now? Like where you're like hoping you sit at the table with these people?
No, I'm 100% serious. You should play your range.
What do you mean then? Are you talking about playing your outs? Like if you have a 40%, chance of hitting whatever, then you're doing a 3-for-1 bet or that garbage?
No. Okay, so imagine that we're sitting in a poker table. And imagine I am the first person to act.
Oh gosh, this is so hard.
And the first thing I do is I raise it up and I make a pretty sizable raise. Okay.
So you're an early position hard raise.
Early position, big raise. We'll say it's a cash game. We're playing 1-2.
You're signaling at least queens probably, or you're trying to run jacks 1-on-1 or something.
All right. So you're thinking about it in sort of the right ways. What you're thinking of is what range of hands is this guy going to have if he's making this play from that position? And if I'm opening early, I've got a strong hand. That's the credit you normally give people. So if someone opens up early, you put them on, they have aces or kings, probably queens, probably ace king suited. Because most people are going to 3-bet that and they're going to raise you again. They're not going to flat call. So now you have a basic range of hands for each player, right? Like each player, you've got a certain range of hands that are probably on. And you're not always going to be right because good players balance these things out and mix it up. But if the flop comes, if I open raise to 12 and you flat call me for 12 on the button and no one else is in the hand, and the flop comes 10-10-8, okay, that flop is way more likely to hit the range of hands that the person on the button is playing than the range of hands the person in the open has. So if you're in that hand, even if you've got in your hand, say 5-6 suited, you've got absolutely nothing on the button. You called the $12 with 5-6 suited, and that flop does nothing for you. Because it is more likely to hit you than the person who opened. They're much more likely to have ace, king, ace, queen, king, queen suited, or a pocket pair. You are way more likely to have a 10 in your hand for trip 10s, or pocket 8s for 8s full, or something like jack 9 suited for the open-ended straight draw, something like that. Those are all in your range. So you have what's called the nut range advantage. All of the hands that make the nuts right now, you are way more likely to have them. So even though you've got nothing, you should be betting and raising that flop. because it's way more likely to hit you than it is the guy who's probably got ace, king, ace, queen, king, queen, maybe aces or kings or queens. You should be betting that instead of playing your cards, you should be playing your range and saying, well, most of the best hands should be in my hand right now and not his. So I'm going to play this aggressively and I'm going to bet this and I'm going to raise this. That's what I mean when I say play your range.
Okay, gotcha. Because if he follows you, he could end up winning if neither of you hit because he's got the overcards, but that's going to crack him more likely than not. So for every time he wins, doubles his money, he's going to triple yours, for example, or whatever. Right.
And when you do hit a hand like that, you want to have some bluffs in your range too, so that when you do have the actual, ace 10 or king 10 suited, you want to make sure someone thinks you're open enough they pay you on it. So you have to bet those when you don't have them and they fit your range. That's how you win at cash games.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. I thought you were talking more like, in addition to potentially lucking my way into a flush, I could also I could still build up. Like that's my range.
No, I'm not telling you to bet your ass. That's a whole different conversation. And that's also something you should probably do, but it's an equity thing. That's not necessarily a winning. That's just a realizing your equity kind of thing. But we can talk about that in the advanced class on Patreon. We can do that.
See, we should do some poker stories or poker thoughts on Patreon. That would be fun. Because one of my dad's favorite phrases is people who chase straights and flushes go home on buses. Presumably because they lose their car.
Yeah.
They're waiting in the parking lot for the bus afterwards because they're not playing anymore.
It's a similar line to, arrived in a limousine and went home in an Uber or went home in a taxi. Like it's that kind of idea. You showed up with all this money and you played bad and you lost it. No, you should absolutely chase flushes and draws. And you should sometimes play them aggressively. It's just you have to do it when the math is right, not all the time, no matter what.
Yeah, endless bankroll thought is like, I'm going to win this hand 2 out of 3 times. So if I'm going to double up or more, then I should be in this hand, even if I end up losing. Because theoretically, it should work out.
Yeah, you're playing the long-term game. But anyway, I've gotten feedback that we should not talk a lot of poker on the podcast, so I'm going to not talk about Well, we've got one of my favorite listeners who gives me some good feedback is a poker dealer, and he's very good, and he's a good poker player too. So he says,
So he's sitting here being like, you idiots, you're both wrong.
I think he's going to side with me on this one, but he's going to wish that we didn't waste his time talking about poker.
I just misunderstood you. I agree with you.
That's good. That's good. Again, we'll do the advanced lessons on Patreon if anybody's interested, but you got to be a member, and we'll talk about that if you're interested. Shoot us a comment, an email, a message, whatever. If you want poker talk, poker strat, we can do that.
Yes. All right. Go to your topic now. Let's get out of this boring mumbo jumbo range bullshit.
We should just cut all this nonsense out, including the sleepover talk. It was all boring.
Just so you guys know, Tom and I would have the best sleepovers.
Yeah, I don't think that we would. I don't think that would go as well as it should. Something would go terribly wrong.
His wife has a penis in her car.
Yeah,
let me finish that sentence.
Yep,
Good thing my internet didn't freeze that time.
My wife has pelvic floor models and vagina models and penis models and penis pumps. She's got all this stuff in her car, and it's all for work. So,
I'm just picturing I'm going to gloss over the last thing you said there. I'm picturing you like in the 40-year-old version when he's staring at the model of
that is a great scene. I think that scene rivals any individual scene of his from The Office. I really think that's as good as anything he did in The Office.
I know. His eyes are so big.
Yeah.
All right. Go to your topic. Please, dear God, go.
So for my topic, I had a few things to talk about that I was kind of torn on. This past week, we released episode 22. What is a Woman Answered? Might be 21. I think it was 22. But we released an episode titled What is a Woman Answered? And oh my goodness, was this a different experience from what we've had so far?
It was so great.
Yeah, it was interesting. Within 24 hours, I was getting hate messages and text messages and Facebook messages and emails, not to our actual, podcast email, to my actual email. People were sending me messages, which makes me wonder why that's out there. But, I got more messages in the first 24 hours than we had downloads, which tells me a couple of interesting things. And that's kind of where I decided to go with my portion of this tonight. I kind of want to talk about how my aunt almost died in an airplane a couple days ago, about how spiders keep biting me but never give me superpowers and just make me sick all the time. There were lots of things I really wanted to talk about that are relevant to the past week. But we're going to talk about this because we had, by the time all is said and done, and I haven't gone back and looked today, but I'm going to guess, and I'd be willing to bet, that if you added up the comments and the emails and the messages that I received about this episode in particular, I'm going to guess it's going to be probably 3 times higher than the number of listens the episode has, which tells me.
Hold on a second. I'm going to pull up the number of listens just to give the context.
And it's not many right now. I think it's only at like 30. It's not really up there.
26.
Yeah, see, it's not even at 30 yet.
Yeah,
So-
for April, yeah.
My last count of messages, because I was tracking them for a couple of days, my last count, I was just under 70. So,
Wow.
And
Oh,
I
and
wasn't-
there's 2 from today.
yeah,
From the first. So okay, so
I wasn't
28,
really looking at today's. So,
yeah.
yeah. So,
Man.
yeah. And I have people who were messaging me on Skype, like while I was working, that were sending me interesting messages. I did not run into the, I don't want to put her name out there, but the charming lady who, thought I was a hardcore conservative. I've not run into her since we talked about that. I don't know if
Did you
she's still
finally
listening or
clear
not.
the air? Did you finally tell her it was
I
me?
haven't talked to her. I haven't seen her since.
I'm so sorry.
I think she's avoiding me now. We both get into work stupid early. There's not many people there when we get there. And it's, we usually bump into each other in the hallway. I have not bumped into her since that happened, since we talked about it. So, but I am absolutely fascinated that people are so willing to spit so much vitriolic, hateful messaging without actually having any idea as to what I said on the podcast. And I shouldn't be surprised by this. I know I shouldn't, because I see it all the time and I comment it all the time. We are a headline media country. We see something and it doesn't, the headline doesn't agree with where we think we stand. And so we lash out at it and we attack it and we go on the offensive. And this is a stupid thing that we do in a really hardcore way. But now that it's pointed at me, I am astounded at how committed people are to being uninformed jackasses. It's blowing my mind, and I'm kind of loving it. I'm being told, along the lines of, I'm an ignorant MAGA Trump supporter. And someone told me the other day that I'm going to be shocked in about 5 years when I discover that my wife has had a penis all along and that I've, been trapped into having children with a wife who's actually not a woman. To that one, I actually responded and I said, I don't know what's more disturbing, your lack of understanding of what I said or your lack of understanding of biology. And that got me some really nasty messages back. And so I had fun with that. But
so this is your fault.
This is my fault. Yeah. I instigate this stuff sometimes. If someone engages with me, I fire back. I've gotten a couple of scam text messages this week. I haven't had one in like 6 months. And I got 2 of them this week and I've engaged with both of them and had a blast trolling these scammers. It's been really fun. I think I sent Doug some screenshots at one point because I was just bored.
You did. There was I did appreciate the line where you're like, what did you say? No.
The penguins, probably. I think you said you like the
No,
penguins.
it was one where you said it's finger painting time.
Yeah.
You said, but it was such a perfect phrasing. It was something like, no, please buzz off. It's finger painting time or
I
something.
think I said, now please shoo. It's almost finger
Yes,
painting
please
time.
shoo. Yes, shoo.
Yeah, I had fun. They messaged me back like 4 hours later, and I just, in all caps locks, finger painting exclamation points, like 50 exclamation points. I haven't heard back since, but there's been 2 other people who've reached out and I've engaged with them. Yeah, so I engage the trolls. This is what I like to do. I don't get to do it professionally because I always tell my clients not to do that, and I do not engage with the trolls. If someone puts up a scathing, nasty review of you on Amazon or on Facebook or on Yelp, anywhere, never engage the troll and fire back and fight the fight. Always just say, thank you for your comment. I appreciate the chance to improve my service or something like that, but you never actually engage. But with the podcast, it's not like it's making us any money. So I feel like I have the right to just engage and fire away and have fun with some people. And I've been very gentle on our social media. I haven't gone crazy on them, but I've subtly engaged with them on social media a little bit. And I'm having fun firing back at literally everybody else. So firing shots seems like fun. I get to get away with it now, and I'm really enjoying that. But I really am surprised, and I shouldn't be, at how ignorant people are willing to be, just with zero actual facts. No one has any idea. The fact that I'm being told I am both a limp dick Biden supporter and a MAGA supporting Trumpist, like, back to back, I'm getting these messages from both sides of the aisle. I'm just going, did any of you listen to what I said? Anyone at all? And apparently no one has. So I implore you, if you would like to shoot bullets at me and engage in this topic, go back and listen to episode 22. What is a woman answered? See what I actually said, see what Doug said, and then fire all the vitriol at me. Why it's all coming at me, I don't know. I guess probably because most of the people that are listening are friends of mine. I don't know. But
because you're the ultra conservative.
I am apparently the ultra conservative. But oh my gosh, this is so much fun. I'm not even upset about it. I am just so happy that, our algorithm is getting pinged and that people are engaging somehow. I'm just happy. It's just fun. I like a good fight, and that's what this is. It's interesting. I'll fight with the troglodytes all day. This is cool. I like it.
See, and that's funny that so I know that at least a couple of people in my corner are faithfully listening to these and kind of keeping up with it, because I I get the occasional text or feedback or whatever, and I do appreciate it, because obviously it's tough to do this completely in a vacuum. But what I'm reminded of, because with this episode, I don't think I got anything. Wow. Like, not one. And it's gonna sound weird. I don't know if this comes off as a humble brag. It probably does. My friends are really reasonable, cultured, polite, sometimes horrendously politically incorrect people. Without naming any names, and I don't even know if anyone else who's listening would remember this, and this is just to give you an idea of how culturally informed some of my friends can be. We were at a local pizza place I want to say it was like we were home from like freshman year of college, like that long ago. And it was the way the table was set up. There were essentially two different conversations going on. There was like 12 of us there, and it was like 5 in one conversation and 6 on another, and kind of thing. And I was the one guy, like kind of right in the middle, trying to listen to both. And out of nowhere, so the one conversation on my right was talking about oil prices and why we keep going to Saudi Arabia for oil. Because, it gives you an idea of like my nerd friend base. We're like 20 years old talking about like oil prices and why we're not drilling in Alaska and all that stuff. And the one guy looks across at another guy who's having a conversation about, I literally, I want to say like architecture. It was like Baroque period or something like that. And he's talking about the architecture and influences of that thing. And he goes, "Hey, name, how do you feel about just drilling for oil in Alaska?" Like totally different topics, like sideswipes him with it. And he goes, "You know what? I will go up to Alaska myself and drive a stake through the head of a baby seal to get to that oil." Like, no pause. These are my friends. We're much more professional now. We probably wouldn't say something like that in public now that we're like have women that, look over our shoulders and make us behave and all that stuff. So, but I haven't gotten anything like that from this. And so that's like the backdrop is my friends, at least if they disagree with the title or what I say, they're at least polite enough to say, to not tell me I'm stupid, which, yeah, they already know I'm stupid. But what it also reminded me of, Tom, how many times did you break up with somebody, for example, and just have some sort of contact with them afterwards? I'm not here to get you in trouble or anything like that.
No, that was common.
But,
I for the most part, unless there was some really ugly breakup, I've tried to remain close after we broke. I tried to remain in touch.
Okay.
Post breakup booty is usually pretty good. So.
What do you have in your car?
Nothing anymore. 17 years now, nothing anymore.
Well, I may have had like one text conversation with an ex like one time.
Wow.
Yeah. And at first, I used to think there was something wrong with me, which, I mean, I'm sure there is. But,
yeah.
You talk to everybody else and they're like, "Oh, well, it's my ex," or, "Oh, well, it's this." And I used to sit there and think, wow, when I break up with people, they like really don't want to talk to me anymore. And that's, wonder what that says about me. So that's what I thought about when you said this. You're like, I'm getting these emails and these texts and these messages at work, and I'm sitting here like crickets. I don't know. What kind of energy stones do I have in my house?
So for all my friends, what Doug basically said is that you're all uncultured, unintelligent swine, and that you're just on a lower level than his friends, and that you're all scumbags, and you should all message him to help make up for the lack of messages he's had and make them colorful.
I mean, that would make me I do feel like I'm not getting enough attention personally, so it might make me feel a little bit better. And while we're on the topic of really horrendously misfiring on what I was saying, thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome.
Yeah. No, I think it's just, I just feel like I say more incendiary things than you do, or at least more politically incorrect things.
I think you're probably right.
Probably, right?
Yeah. I think I'm much more moderate, and so I probably say less inflammatory things kind of as a rule.
Yeah.
Unless that's what's actually pissing people off. Maybe that's
what it is. No, you're more approachable. They're like, you know what? I want to yell at one of these people. That guy seems nicer. I'll yell at him.
It's like when it's like when your kids behave at school, but they come home and it's their safe space, and so that's where they lash out because they know they're safe. So you deal with the worst behaviors at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now I'm offended again. Please, someone hate mail me. But yes, to actually get back to your actual topic, I agree. I'll admit I'm guilty of that too. Just the reading a headline and being like, "Oh no, you didn't," and oh wait, they actually didn't.
Yeah,
and I just sit there and I think, man, if I feel like I'm relatively aware of stuff like that. Like, oh, I'm not going to give someone the attention, the clickbait. I'm not going to be one of those clicks for the clickbait. But man, if I fell for this or even almost fell for it, like just how many people did? And I'm not even saying that people are just more susceptible. I just mean if you have 30,000 people looking at something, just numbers, you're going to have 1,000 people, even just at one time. They just had that kind of day where they're like, you know what? Fuck you. And then that just does it. And I think that's just where we're at. I don't know. I have this theory, and I've said it before, that people are people. There is, in some ways, nothing unique about us socially compared to past cultures, past civilizations. Like there's, how do I explain this? If the Romans somehow magically got social media, you'd see a lot of the exact same things back then, 3,000 years ago, that you see now. I mean, hell, there's reported, documented, election interference, for example, where this was the coolest part. So there was this local city where they would vote with a black pebble or a white pebble, and they would drop it into one of the vases. Like, it was, every citizen had the right to vote, and they had documented, like, caught them guys sneaking in with like sacks full of like extra black pebbles and trying to sneak them in the middle of the night to add to the count. Like, the classic ballot thing we're talking about. Now, we know in election interference happens in little ways here and there on both sides nowadays. Like, this is human nature. This stuff has been happening as long as we can remember. We have certain societal technologies that have improved, but at the end of the day, people are people. So I'm not saying we're any better than this. It's just always funny to kind of see that and just think, well, this is how we are.
I'm trying to remember who it was, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I feel like it was Edgar Allan Poe. And I'll have to go back and double check this, and we'll do an update in a future episode. But in America, long time ago, I can still remember, there was a lot of cases of people literally grabbing people off the street when it came time to vote. And they would grab a person off the street with a chest of clothes and disguises and stuff, and they would explain to that person, you are going to go cast votes for the person we want you to vote for, and you're going to come back to us and change your outfit. And if you do, we're going to give you whatever the monetary unit was. We're going to give you basically enough to go buy a beer. And if you don't, we are going to beat the ever-living tar out of you, leave you in this alley, go find your family, and beat the ever-living tar out of all them as well. And they would just run one person in like 5, 6, 10 times and dress them differently every time to go cast votes as people that they knew weren't going to go vote, because they had someone waiting outside their home threatening to beat them if they did, because they knew who they wanted to vote for. So they would come up with this list of people you could vote as that they knew were going to vote the other way, and they would dress someone up to go vote sort of on their behalf. And they would do this multiple times. And they grabbed, it was a famous writer. He wasn't famous at the time, but I'm pretty sure it was Edgar Allan Poe. He was a victim of this one time, where he got grabbed up and scooped up and like threatened excellent. And beaten. I have to go and see who that was now. I'm pretty sure it was Poe. I'm gonna have to go double check that.
That's cool. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's a fun story.
I feel bad for not hearing about that.
I'll find the whole thing and I'll send you the whole story. We can talk about it later, because it's a good one. It's fun. But I got to make sure. Excellent. I got to make sure I'm right on that.
That's fine. I love that. I mean, like,
Of course you do.
love, air quotes. What's
You're
this
the inflammatory one that loves stuff like this.
twisted, kind of dark?
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, top three. We're not going to do the draft format tonight because we picked something pretty ambiguous, but let's do our top three.
I know. Oh, I didn't even think about the top three too much. Okay, but I'll go first because I have one in mind. You ready? So the top three tonight is favorite things, and we'll keep it really general just for funsies. It can be like like a food or a store or a place or whatever, anything that's just top three favorite things that are gone now, that are dead now, that you can't find anymore. And when you think about it, it just makes you sad. My first one is Blockbuster.
Oh, that was on my list. Yep, that's
I knew it was. I knew it was going to be. That's why I went first. I feel like this is one of those things, like when you try to explain it, we'll try to explain this to our kids someday. There was nothing more fun than going into a Blockbuster and being like, what movie are we getting this time?
Or what game?
Or what game, right? That's true. And then then they got the snacks right there, and you just getting you, and you're happy. You are happy to give them your money because that was going to be a fun night, a fun sleepover that never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good alternative for a sleepover.
It was a
much
good
safer.
alternative for a sleepover, right?
As long as Uncle Christopher wasn't visiting.
Uncle Father Christopher.
As long as he wasn't visiting.
What's he there? Oh, he's there to bless the sleepover.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Seems legit. Checks out.
Just make sure you're in the confessional the next day.
Father Christopher, you've got a lot in your car. That crucifix looks funny.
I'm so torn. Like my next stand-up, I kind of want to tighten up that set and just do a better version of that set. But I don't want to retell that material when people are showing up. So I'm going to come up with something new. But
no,
the Father Christopher was pretty good, and I really kind of want to keep that.
You only got 5 minutes. You can definitely come up with more stuff. Once you start doing 15-minute things, then you'll kind of know what lands better, and then you can kind of combine them all. That's what you should do. Yeah.
If you don't get the Father Christopher jokes, go ahead and pull up my YouTube for my comedy debut. You'll understand it. You'll regret that you understand it. You'll regret looking it up. But you'll laugh.
We talked about way worse things that you would regret looking up. This one's fun.
All right.
What
so
episode was that? Was it 9 or 8 or something? It was one of the earlier ones.
It had to have been early because I did the stand-up. That stand-up was from September. That was September 21st at Mohegan Sun. So it must have been
when we started recording like July of last year or something. I could probably figure it out. But I'll figure it out while you get into yours now.
It's not that crucial.
It's in the show notes of one of the shows. I'm going to help people. Keep talking. I'll find here in a second.
I am going to talk about the store that I missed the most, just in general. Blockbuster was way up on my list. It was my number 2. I'm looking at my list now. That was my number 2. But the store that I missed the most is Barnes and Noble. I know some of them still exist, but like bookstores in general, it's not what it used to be. And that was a whole experience. And I used to, when I was a really young kid, we had a store in town called Books A Million. And it was a small town, and I would walk in there and ask them, when do the next Hardy Boys books come out? Like, when are the next ones coming out? And they would tell me, and it would be a month or 6 weeks or 2 months. And they would reserve it under my name, and I would pay them in advance. And when they called me, I'd get my Hardy Boys book, and I would wait for that phone call on my landline at my house with no call waiting. And I'd get so excited, and the Hardy Boys book would come in, and I'd go get it. But Barnes and Noble, the first time I walked into one of those, was that sensation on crack. It was amazing. Just all the books you could ever want, every topic. I would wander the psychology section. I'd see the wall of Stephen King books. It was fantastic. And then it got even better when I went to Savannah, and it became like my favorite place to pick up women. It's like, oh, everyone's going to bars and trying to pick up girls at bars. Barnes and Noble is a fantastic place to meet college students. And just everything about Barnes and Noble and bookstores in general just appealed to me. I love books, and it was a part of my social experience. And I miss bookstores as much as I like Amazon and just pulling up what I want and ordering it and having it delivered, or getting on Audible and firing off a credit and getting my ebook. It's not the same as just walking through a bookstore and discovering what's there and just looking and browsing. It's almost that same Blockbuster feeling. We're like, what am I bringing home today? When you don't know and you're just surprised by what you find, that's an experience I miss.
Well, good choice. That's true. I do have to admit, I did love just being in a Blockbuster, or excuse me, a Barnes and Noble. That too. I love both.
That too. Yep.
Just going through the books, maybe pick something up, look, I'll see what's out there. I did love that. By the way, it was episode 10,
Okay.
which was the Oprah paradox.
Yeah, you were close.
Yeah,
I think you said 9,
which
so you
we
were
have
close.
in there. Yeah. So another thing that I like that so someone said that they're still around, but I haven't seen them in I don't even know how long. So as far as I'm concerned, they're dead. Dunkaroos.
What is it?
Dunkaroos.
Oh, Dunkaroos, the snack. You dip the thing in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
chocolate.
like the little kangaroo swinging on the packet, and you had the whatever, probably like a pudding or whatever, like some junky
Chocolate
synthesized
frosting
cream.
or vanilla
Right.
frosting.
When I was a kid, crack cocaine, straight up. If I knew anything about IVs, I would have just done that instead of orally for Dunkaroos. Oh man, I just miss those things. I remember one day I just realized I wasn't seeing them anymore, and that was probably the most existential I'd been at that point in my life in my teenage years. I think it was teenage years. But yeah, I'm gonna put that out there just because it's a special place in my heart.
Good with that. Dunkaroos makes sense.
You want me to go for a third one?
No, I've got a couple on here. I'm just trying to decide what I actually wanted to go with.
Okay. Because I think I know what my third one is, and it's stupid because of the experience part of it.
Yeah,
But you can go.
the one I was going to say is very similar to our Blockbuster and our Books a Million. It was the experience of it all, and it was So I feel like I should go with something else. So I think instead I'm going to go with Ecto Cooler, and it wasn't even something I liked the taste of. Like I really didn't care about, but it was just cool and it was just
But the green
fun.
guy,
Yeah, it was
the green
Slimer.
guy was legit.
Yeah, had Slimer on it from Ghostbusters, and it was just it was cool, man. You busted out the Ecto Cooler at lunch, and it was a social experience.
Oh,
It was an
man.
invitation to be cool.
That's awesome. I love it. All right. Well, my third one is, and bear with me here on this, MapQuest. I'm sure there are people who still use MapQuest. It was a website.
Oh, I remember it. I'm
Yeah,
wondering why
I
you
mean-
miss it, but yeah, I'm waiting to hear the
Well,
explanation.
okay. So who does anyone use MapQuest anymore?
I'm sure someone does.
Like I know it's a still a live website, but and maybe this is part of my experience too, is when because I do a lot of appraisal work and I do a lot of address searching and trying to look, research properties for other sales and junk like that. And whenever I see a MapQuest link on anything I'm searching, it's like always wrong. It has the name of the bar or restaurant or anything that was like 2 or 3 establishments ago. Like it's all old. It's never being updated. So as far as I'm concerned, it's like basically dead. But every time you had to go somewhere, you were planning ahead, you went to MapQuest, you printed off the directions, or when they started making you try to pay for extra, you would write it down on a bunch of post-its and then take those suckers with you to the car. And, just driving around at night, turning on your little light in your car, trying to read your stupid MapQuest directions. We all had our own system too of what meant left turn versus right because you didn't want to write out everything all the way.
Your own shorthand.
Yeah. There's something about just that I missed. It was, and maybe it's probably a little bit of nostalgia, but I can't tell you how many like in late high school, early college, bonfire parties or field parties or anything, just get-togethers that I went to with MapQuest, and it was still kind of like a way to learn the city too when you're traveling around because you still had to like look for shit and actually see the street names. You didn't just have some voice telling you turn right in 5 feet. So I do kind of miss that. It felt like I was more integrated with the streets and the towns and stuff around here. And it's a little bit now it's easy, it's nice, but I never have the same like, wow, I found it feeling anymore.
You need to go geocaching. That's what you need to do. You'd like geocaching.
No, I've done it. I've done
Oh.
a couple. It's fun. I would not do it full time. My sister and her husband, at one point, they were doing a cache a day for years.
That's a
for
lot.
a long time. Yeah, they're if there's a professional geocaching, that it was them. They found it all and they did it all and they won all the contests and junk like that. So they were into that. I liked the concept.
Okay.
I think the big thing is that I would fall out of a tree, so I can't.
Oh, all right. I went a little differently with my third one. It was the so Blockbuster and bookstores were my slam dunks. These are definitely on my list. And then the third one I had a bunch of different things, and you took Blockbuster, which made that easy. So the third one I'm going with something that we don't do anymore. It's the experience you can't have anymore. My kids will never understand it. And that's walking someone all the way to the terminal gate at an airport as they're getting on a plane to leave. We used to walk people all the way to when they boarded. All you sit with them until the plane's ready to board.
Oh, that's
and you
right.
talk,
You
and then
did.
you could watch them through the windows as the plane takes off right there from the
Forgot about
gate.
that.
And
Wow.
and that was a really different experience. And you can't.
This
do
is
that
George
anymore.
Bush's fault.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. So yeah, that's one of those things I remember, like my aunt coming to visit when I was young, and us going and watching her walk down to the down the walkway to the airplane. And when I was going to Germany, actually, the last trip I took to Germany, I came home for a couple friends' wedding from Germany, and got to stay here for, I think I was here for a week. And then when I went back, my now wife, we were engaged at the time, she drove me back up to the airport. And I remember they actually gave her like a fake boarding pass to let her come all the way to the gate with me. I was in uniform, and it had been years at this point since that was allowed, but they let her come like all the way to the gate. And it was really neat. And I got to, until my plane took off, I had to be there a couple hours early. So I got a couple more hours with my fiance before I crossed the Atlantic and went back to Germany. And I wasn't going to see her again for probably 6 or 7 months. Actually, yeah, about 6 or 7 months. Yeah. So I, got back and I got some time with her. And of course, I was a sobbing, teary mess because I was a young, romantic soldier boy. And, saying goodbye hurt. It was so hard. But I got like an extra 2 hours with her, and it was a good time. You just sat there and held hands and talked, and it was just sweet. And it's something you don't get anymore. Now you drop someone off the airport and you're like, yeah, since I can't go to the gate, just get the hell out of my car. I'll see you when you get back. Call me when you touch down. It's not the same. Yeah, I miss that experience. I miss walking people to their gate and being walked to the gate when that happened, when I was done with my leave and I was flying back somewhere. It was nice to be walked to the gate. It was nice to get that extra time. And it felt like a proper goodbye in a lot of ways. And yeah, I miss that.
Yeah. They made a song about you,
Did they?
Yeah, it's called Soldier Boy.
I told you.
No, that's true. Some of that stuff, man. Mm.
All right, on the dad jokes, lighten it back up.
Yeah, I think we should lighten it up since you're bringing everybody down.
Oh, come on, it was sweet.
Yeah.
I had a sweet nostalgic flashback there. I was supporting neither Trump nor Biden, so people can hate me for both now. I mean, come on.
No, I just can't wait for you to be like, well, my wife says it was actually 3 months instead of 6 months. Keep you in line like we all need.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Did you bring one? Did you bring two? How many did you bring?
I had just one prepared, one good one, so I'll just stick with it. And it has nothing to do with anything. I was just researching, trying to find the perfect one.
Seek progress, not perfection.
Sure, whatever. I'm going to play my range.
I don't think perfection is in your range. I hate to tell you. I'm taking that one out of your range.
This is the second time I get to call you a jackass tonight.
It won't be the last.
So, Tom, why should you never tell chemistry jokes?
Oh, I'm going to be mad if I don't get this one.
God, I hope so. You're a jackass.
I told you that wouldn't be the last time. Oh, I don't know. Why should you never tell chemistry jokes?
Because sometimes you don't get a reaction.
Good. It's good. I approve.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd try to get something like periodic.
It's actually where I was going.
Like I was
elements.
going, yeah.
I'm like, no, punchline. What do I get there? No, I couldn't.
Because most of the jokes are only phosphorus.
I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah.
I actually got to make an ad hoc periodic table joke the other day.
Really?
Some guys sitting around.
Was it a dead guy and you had to bury him?
No, it wasn't that good. I like that.
Okay, sorry.
Some guys at work were talking about like modern lingo and modern vernacular. One of the guys was saying you can tell your age by if someone says that something is fire, or if something is hot, or something is lit. He goes, nowadays you say it's gas. If something's really cool, you say it's gas. And the other gentleman next to him was like, no, that's stupid. He goes, no, that's what us young people say to boomers like you. If it's really cool, we say it's gas. And I said to him, I said, no, that's incorrect. No one says that anymore. And he says, yeah, they do. I said, no, everyone who says that something is gas, argon. And the argon joke was just, I was really proud of that one. I thought it was pretty good off the cusp.
I was going to say, we used to say that's solid. So we're almost there.
Yep. I remember it was
got
lit.
one more. We just have a liquid somewhere in here.
Yeah. Anyway, I had a couple. I can't help myself. I always look up a couple. So we'll go with the one that's related. I've got
a problem.
Joke. I do have a problem. I've got a sleepover joke for you. A 12-year-old girl.
Oh God, no.
A 12-year-old girl wants to go to a sleepover at a friend's house. And there's going to be multiple people there. And she's talking to her mom about it. No, Doug, we're off the periodic table. Those jokes are gone. So she's telling her mom she wants to go to a sleepover party, and yes, there will be other people there. And she's trying to be very upfront and honest with her mom. And her mom says, all these people, are they all sleeping in different rooms? Like, you're not sleeping in the same room with anybody, are you? And the girl says, Mom, come on, I'm 12. The mom says, I know, I'm 24.
Ew.
Yeah. And then because Doug sent me a world-class Michael Jordan meme earlier today, and it was fantastic. And you should probably tell that. You probably should tell that one after this.
Yeah, I probably should. I think that was a real thing, though. That's like, it's not even a joke. Like
I hope it is, because that makes it even better.
I hope it is, too. I hope it is, because, yeah, it does make it better.
Well, it made me think, and I've decided that, LeBron James does actually remind me a lot of Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan was playing baseball.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty hard, right? I like that one though. I like it a lot.
That's pretty shade.
And
whatever kids are saying nowadays,
so it's pretty gas.
It's pretty gas. Jesus,
I feel like a boron.
Yes, well, you should.
I think you should try yours. You should pull that one up and you should share that.
I'm trying to figure out a way to say uranium, but it's not working.
No, it's not quite the same.
But yeah, so as a news reporter asked Michael Jordan if he thought the 90s Bulls could beat LeBron's Lakers. And Michael says, yes. The reporter says, by how much? 2 or 3 points. Why so close? Well, most of us are almost 60 now.
I like that so much.
Yes, it's so good.
And I hope it is something he really said, because that does make it so much better.
That's the kind of thing he might say.
Yeah, I agree.
If he was in a mood, because that dude, I don't care how competitive you think anybody else is, that dude was competitive.
That man would bet his teammates on whose luggage would come out first, and he had already bribed people to pull out the luggage he was betting on first. Like, it was already done before the flight took off. He is the ultimate competitor of my lifetime. I really think that Michael Jordan is the ultimate competitor.
Yeah. I was reading something the other day from one, I can't remember the guy's name, but he said he was a rookie with the Wizards, and Jordan just rode his ass the whole fucking time. Didn't want to be there, basically tried to get him to quit. And the guy said that, I was 18 years old, and with my contract, I bought my mom a new house, a big house, and I did all this, and I went, 15 years in the league for people saying I wasn't good, and of all people, Michael Jordan being like, you suck, dude. And he's like, don't tell me I haven't done anything. He was basically like, I went through shit that none of you can understand, so piss off. Like, yeah, well, fair. If I was even remotely good at basketball, Michael Jordan was like, get the hell out of here, I would have been like, oh God, I'm so sorry. Mr. Jordan, sir, I guess I'll just quit forever.
He's not one you'd want to make mad. I can't remember who it was now, and it's killing me. I can't remember who these people are. There was a player, and I think he was in Chicago. I think it was the Bulls. I don't think it was Washington, but Jordan had retired and he had been gone for a while. And this kid was young kid, just drafted, and he was talking trash during preseason warmups one day about how he could beat Jordan. Someone said something about Mike, and he was like, I could beat Jordan. Like, come on, I could beat this guy. I'm taller, I'm bigger, I'm a baller. I would beat him. And they're all like, yeah, you shouldn't say something like that. It's stupid. You sound stupid. You shouldn't say that. And he was like, no, I would beat Jordan. And they're like, no, you really need to stop. You are the reason that we have warning labels. Like, you need to stop. And the kid just kept running his mouth. So someone up in the office called Michael Jordan, who, like I said, had been retired for a couple of years. Jordan got on a plane and was there the next day when they started their practice, and like clear out. We're playing one-on-one, and he played the kid one-on-one, and apparently he scored 7 straight points on the kid, like 7-0, ran him off the floor, and was like, yeah, you need to never talk about me. There's a YouTube clip about it. I'll find that. We'll put the link in the notes. I just don't remember who it was, but it was a humbling experience for sure. And that's just who Jordan was. He was just a competitor.
Well, and he probably he didn't just like drill a couple of shots too. He probably like shouldered the guy and like physically hurt him too. Yeah. Like, no, I'm going to show you exactly what it was like to play in the 80s and 90s. They were tomahawking each other constantly.
Yeah, you look at videos back then. You see someone driving to the hole, he was going to get hit multiple times. Dennis Rodman was putting full body blocks on people, and he was a big guy. Yeah. There's a lot to respect about people who could score in that era. You know, people want to put up modern numbers against theirs. The defense was different. It tired you out more. It was much more physical. It hurt, and you got away with it. And it's a very different game. Now you get a flagrant if, you know, the guy's toe is in your landing space 30 feet from the rim. It's changed. I still love basketball. Yeah. I'm not going to be that guy who says it's not a fun game. No, I still love it. But it was way more physical back then. Yeah, not you. But go and watch some old school, like early 90s highlights of Michael Jordan. You know, go watch some of those. And the guy gets mauled going to the rim. And it doesn't matter. He's still getting there. He's still pulling the ball down, going under the rim, and coming up with the reverse layup on the other side through contact with his tongue hanging out of his mouth, staring you dead in the eyes. Probably making a cheeseburger while he does it and seducing your wife. Like, that's what he's doing while you foul him. It's just, he was insane. There was no one like that. I'm not sure
which one of those extras was unnecessary. One of the two.
It doesn't matter. He's doing it all.
It does. Yeah. Well, I am old school in that sense too. Like the old style pickup game of, if someone's going to score to like put in a layup to end the game, you're allowed to bear hug him. Yeah. Just don't hurt him, you know, but you're allowed to completely just grab him and not let him even shoot ball at all. It's okay.
Yep. If that last point's going to be in the paint, it's going to be an N1. That's how it's going to be.
Right. Well, I just mean, you just grab his arm. Yep. I'm not one for hurting people, but yeah, like, you know, a foul's a foul. Like we all know what's going on here. Don't try to disguise it or act like one's worse than another. You don't want him to score, don't let him score. It's just nice. Simple, right? Just don't hurt people. Yeah. All right. I think we need to go to your happy note and updates. Yeah.
Yeah, we got some updates.
Need to. So I have updates for the first time ever.
I'm excited.
So thanks to peer pressure, which doesn't really count because Tom's older than I am, since he's going to sit there and say I'm not 28.
Not by that much.
I said. I think you were out of high school when I started. So yeah, you're older.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm 2 or 3 years older than you.
I don't know. We'll figure that out later. So I started listening to Time Suck, one of Tom's favorite podcasts, and good. Check it out. That would be a fun spinoff, was to take some of his topics and add our little commentary to it, because he does talk about some really fun topics. And I've only gone through the first 8 or 9 or whatever. So that's my one. But the bigger update, if you guys will remember, God, this must have been 8 or 10 episodes ago now, probably.
It was like episode 21 or 20.
Yeah, we did the top dystopian movies, and Tom mentioned The Postman. I finally watched it.
We didn't do dystopian. That's very different. We did post-apocalyptic.
Excuse me. Sorry. Semantics. Jesus.
No, it's a big difference. It's a very big
you're
difference.
mansplaining me again.
I am.
Well, I finally got to watch Postman, and I actually do agree. I think that's the best movie that I've seen with Kevin Costner in it. And well, I was impressed because the way Tom painted it was just, it's this guy, he finds this truck and there's this bad guy and all that stuff. But it's an actual legitimate dramatic story where he runs into the bad guy first.
Yep.
And there's a lot of guilt and human, like in some ways, a lot of the stuff happens in spite of our hero, which I liked. And so you said I would like the antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, I did. When I saw him, I was like, "Ooh, yay, I love this actor." But I don't think I love the actor the way you thought I would, because my main association with him is as the right-hand man to John Travolta's character in The Punisher.
Really?
Yeah. You remember The Punisher?
Yeah, and I remember him in that role, too. He was Turns
He
out
was
he thought he was sleeping with his wife, but he was homosexual. And
yeah, he was
yeah,
Quinn or whatever was his name was in
I
that.
think Quinn is right. That sounds
Yeah,
right.
I think it's right. Yeah. But I remember watching that movie, and I mean, I like that movie, but I actually remember him standing out to me in that movie as like, wow, this guy's doing a really good job in this role of being like a borderline psychopath, but also
Wow.
literally low to a fault. So when I saw him, I was like, oh, yay. That was my first thought. So, but yeah, he did pretty good in that movie. Considering when this movie was made, there were a lot of later big name guys in this movie.
Yes.
Like the local sheriff of Pineview, I think is the main town there. And
Sounds right.
what was that guy's name? He's been in a lot of stuff too. And then the guy who was the lady's husband who gets stabbed early on. He's the guy who looks like Matt Bomer but isn't.
That's actually strikingly good description.
I can't
Wow.
remember that guy's name.
All right. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
there's lots of people in that movie who are like, holy shit, they're like famous later after this. So yeah,
Yeah, when I was
great
talking about
movie.
that movie, I had a really hard time because I didn't want to give too much away, but it is such
Right.
a deep movie. Like it is, you talk about
Yes.
world building and character development
Mhm.
and plot. It's all there and it's all very deep and they get there really quickly. They don't waste a lot of time. The pacing is pretty good.
Yeah, they do pretty good. I mean, it's some of it feels a little bit rushed, but they had, I mean, hell, it's almost a 3 hour movie, so they had a lot
Yeah.
to fit in. But you're right, they do a fairly good job of kind of if you're watching in between the lines, you realize all the stuff that is happening or not happening in this world. And yeah, it's definitely worth the watch for sure. I enjoyed it immensely.
I still think it's my favorite Kevin Costner movie, but have you seen Mr. Smith?
God damn it, I'm gonna be watching Mr. Smith in a couple weeks now.
It's much shorter and it's very good. It's a dramatically different movie. It's about a
No, I don't think I have.
it's about a serial killer. He plays a serial killer who's trying not to be one. It's very interesting. He's got some mental illness and he's very wealthy and he's what Bruce Wayne would be if he didn't hate criminals. It's very interesting, just wealthy, and it's got Dane Cook. And the whole plot of the thing is that Dane Cook is this pervo guy who accidentally he's peeping on a neighbor across the street in an apartment. And he's taking pictures of them because they're voyeuristic and they leave windows open when they do stuff. And the serial killer, Kevin Costner, happens upon them. They're his targets. And he goes in and kills them, but the windows were left open. And Dane Cook was taking pictures of them. So now he's got a picture of the thumbprint killer who no one knows who he is. So now this guy knows who he is and he goes to try to blackmail him. He brings some photos and he doesn't want money out of him. He wants him to take him along on one of these killings and to be part of it and be present. Like it's really dark and sinister. And it's a really good movie, but it's the only movie I think that might rival for that favorite Kevin Costner movie spot for me. But The Postman is it. It's just Mr. Smith is close.
Okay, well then I'll have to look. Mr. Smith. Is this young Dane Cook, like before he was big on stand-up, or is this after he was bigger on stand-up?
Probably just after. I'm thinking it was early 2000s, 2005, 2006, somewhere around there.
Okay.
In the
Well, then,
aughts.
Mr. Brooks.
Mr. Brooks, there you go. That's the one, not Mr. Smith, Mr. Brooks.
Close enough. It's the same
Yeah.
thing, basically.
Yeah, same thing.
Oh, yeah,
But
Dane Cook.
really fantastic. And you'll recognize a couple of people in that too.
Dane Cook is Mr. Smith. That's why you have that in your head.
That's it.
Okay.
Yep, that's exactly it. Thank you.
Wow, holy shit.
Look at the
Kevin
cast.
Costner, Demi Moore, William Hurt, Dane Cook. Yeah, there's lots of okay, cool.
If you have any interest in the whole serial killer movie, like the good ones, if you have any interest at all in that topic, it's a good flick. If you're not into that, then it's not for you.
I don't. I'm so boring. You know me. We had a whole talk about serial killers, and it was just so droll for me.
Yeah.
Just dragged myself through it.
Have you seen Zodiac? Jake
No, I
Gyllenhaal?
actually haven't, and I've heard I need to see it. I was interested in it. It's one of those things I haven't gotten around to. I have a list of like 20 things on my phone that I need to watch.
Yeah.
Slowly working through them when
I
I
can
can.
rattle off all the dark ones. We won't go there.
Yeah, let's do that later, some other time. Patreon.
Patreon, yes.
Patreon, yes. I will do that.
Patreon is up and running, and we're working on adding perks to it. So find our Patreon, help support us, get some perks. We've got some interesting things we're going to add to it. We've got some ideas. They keep coming in slowly but surely. But support us on Patreon. We would love the support. And we're not asking for much on there. I think the levels are set up as it stands today at $3.50, $5, and $10. I think those are the 3 levels we've got set up. So by all means, come find us. Yep. The link will be in the show notes. It's also on our website. It'll be on all of our social media. I think it already is, actually. So help us out, support us, buy us a cup of coffee a month, and it helps us pay our editors so we can give you better quality stuff. We want to work in some giveaways. We've got a lot of stuff that we want to do with this. Unfortunately, we can't keep coming out of pocket, so help us out a little bit. We love you. Thanks. We did give our first online giveaway. We gave away an Amazon gift card to someone for liking and sharing and reviewing the Facebook page, and we're going to do more of those too. So make sure you're following us on Facebook. We just got up on the X. We've got Instagram that should be rolling here any day now. I just signed up for the YouTube for us, so we'll be doing an audio-only YouTube stream there until we decide how we want to do some video stuff. But we've filled in those few gaps that we didn't have filled in before. So find us wherever, support us, and we appreciate you and we love you. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, what he said. What? That's it. I don't know what else I'm talking about.
I was hoping for a bye Felicia's, but that works. That's it. What he said.
No, I can't say that every time.
I wish you could. I like that a good deal.
No. I've been thinking, I should really be fair. It can't just be Felicia's. It has to be Felicios.
Oh, okay.
As well.
Not to be mixed up with Felicios.
We are not getting into your wife's car tonight. Bye, Felicios.
Later.